How are you, Bri?
Hey Ray, I'm doing really well. Yeah. How are you
Fantastic.
doing?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. Today happens to be one of my days off, so I'm doing really well.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I wanted to chat to you, Bree. We connected earlier on in the year, and I want to, I guess, unpack a little bit about that journey from where you came from to where you are working now. But just for as a general introduction, where you are currently working in terms of chaplaincy.
Awesome. So yeah, obviously my name is Bri. I am working as a full-time high school chaplain in Logan as well at Loganlea State High. So I've been here for the past 8 months now, since the start of the year. And prior to that, I was working in Rockhampton for nearly 4 years as a chaplain. Yeah.
Wow, that's an incredible journey from Rockhampton to Brisbane. So for those who have no idea what we are talking about, it's a long way away. Brie, how far is the drive? To give a bit of context of where you've come from as a chaplain to be chaplain at this particular school.
So from here, it's about an 8 hour drive, I would say. Yeah, so it's about halfway up the state of Queensland, maybe just a bit under halfway. So
Yeah, so
in the
it's
heart of central Queensland.
so what was it like up in Rockhampton? If you don't mind me asking, we'll go backwards and then we'll go forwards again. But Rocky, how long were you a chaplain there for?
Yeah, so I started as a chaplain halfway through 2017 up there. I worked part time in a high school and part time in a primary school. It was actually really awesome seeing both sides of the schools, I guess. Rocky itself is um, got that kind of country town feel, but it is bigger than most of the small towns out there. So lots of farmers and lots of low socio families as well. So it's definitely a difficult area, but I think through that you can see the heart of the people that are there, and they care for their neighbours and love on each other as well. So I loved working up there. It was
Yeah,
such
what
a great feel. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you did at, I guess, both schools, really? Like you were saying, it's a very unique city. Is it a city? Town?
I
Town?
think it's
Suburb?
a town. Yeah.
Yeah. Like obviously there are some things that are unique to Rockhampton, and obviously see like it's farming area. But what were some of the things that you got involved with at both schools, or maybe one school in particular was something interesting that you arranged and organized?
Yeah, so being in my schools for so long, I got to develop some amazing relationships between staff and students there, and watched a lot of them grow up, some coming from the primary schools I worked in and came through to the high schools. So watching them grow up and really mature in who they are was just such an incredible blessing. Last year, COVID hit, and that changed everything that we were
Right.
doing with our jobs. I spent a lot of my time really connecting with kids and having that one-on-one chats. And so for that time when kids couldn't even come into the school, it really challenged how I was able to do my job and connect with kids. Like, how do you connect with kids if they're not even there in the first place? So I started painting murals. That was a
Right.
huge way
Right.
that I started working with a lot of the kids that were at school, but also kids that, were at home. They could see my videos that I was making as well. So around the primary school, I painted a couple of huge murals on the sides of walls and buildings, with lots of encouraging messages about being unique and being kind and things like that. And the kids that I worked with in the school, they helped me paint them, which was awesome. And
Right.
we started doing YouTube videos connecting with kids and sending home stories and things like that, whether that was reading books to them over video, or interviewing different teachers around the school as well. Just, it was such an opportunity to be creative in how we
Right.
connected with
Yeah.
people. Yeah, so that was
Oh,
that was a huge blessing that came out of a crazy time, I suppose.
oh man. Is was painting a passion of yours? Is it a thing, or you just went, I need to think of something. There you go. I saw some paintbrushes, decided to paint murals. Like how did it come about that you decided murals was the thing?
I suppose I've always been creative. Music is
Okay.
more of my creative side, but I liked kind of picking up a paintbrush and things like that. but never on this size at all. This was such a huge undertaking for me that I think my principal had discussed wanting to do some things to revamp the school. And we started with creating like a playground area for kids with like hopscotch and like a virtual kind of maze that they had to walk through and things like that, a snakes and ladders board. And from there, it kind of just ignited a bit of a passion for what could we do to change how the schools looks, to make things different, to connect with kids. So this was such a huge undertaking that, I hadn't planned on doing and had no idea how to do it, but kind of just picked it up on the way.
Do you think that's a good thing to sometimes be challenged in an area where you have no idea, but you have a go anyway? Because I know a lot of people who wouldn't do that, who would be like frozen at the thought of, I don't know what to do now. I'm stuck. I've hit this brick wall. I'll just sort of sit on my hands and wait till I'm told what to do. Like, is that, like I'm always interested about people's process.
I love to be challenged, I suppose. I am not someone who likes to sit stagnant and get comfortable in where I am. So when there's opportunities that arise, I love to kind of take them, because really at the end of the day, the worst that's going to happen is you fail and maybe you look a little bit silly. But like at the end of the day, that doesn't really affect anyone else.
Right.
So I'd rather try something and have a lot of fun on the way and learn something new, or make new friends, or create something awesome. And, risk looking a little bit silly, or risk, failing, rather than just not try at all. And I think through that and challenging ourselves, that's where really great beauty comes out of things in life. Yeah.
That's so cool. Where did that come from for you? Like, was it something that stemmed from home, or you had a great group of people that just said, Bri, just whatever you do, have a go. We don't care if you feel like, because that's not, I shouldn't say this, but that's not a normal thing, right? Like often if we think about failure, most of us are like, nah, I'm out of here. But to have that sort of resilience, where did that stem from?
I suppose partly it comes from, my family. They are these huge go-getters as well.
Okay.
I suppose all my family are really highly ambitious people, and like challenging each other. And that's not necessarily in terms of like the best job and things like that, but just getting lots out of life and encouraging people. And I suppose, watching them and their faith to step out and do things that are challenging, but knowing that they can go out in God's strength, that has made me, trust that I can step out in that strength as well. Yeah. But I've always been surrounded by amazing people that have, just made me not afraid to kind of fail or fall.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I suppose it's God that gives me that courage and that strength to step out into the unknown.
And has that helped? Obviously it has, but do you think that's probably a massive reason why you are in chaplaincy, because of that kind of support? Because I think as chaplains, sometimes and there are moments where we underestimate our impact. But the fact that you're just describing, hey, it is a lot to do with your surroundings and the people who have been encouraging you. And you're like, man, if I do this, if this is how I feel, I want to do that for someone else. Is that how you stumbled into chaplaincy, or chose chaplaincy as the thing that you want to do?
A little bit, yeah, I suppose. I struggled a bit through high school myself, and connecting and finding meaning, and coming out of that and working in different organizations that saw young people and young adults really struggle to find their place in the world and find hope. That's really what pushed me into chaplaincy as well. So like that, people didn't have that support. And in high school, we see these kids that come from families that don't always have that support there, or don't know how to provide that hope for their kids. And so I wanted to be a part of making a difference for that, and being someone that can step in as an advocator and as a, encourager for our kids. Yeah.
I really love what you said there, because it's a powerful reminder, isn't it, in the work that we do as chaplains. I'm just thinking now, if I was a kid in Rockhampton and you're my chaplain, I'm having the best days of my life. Like, there's a school chaplain, we paint, we do YouTube videos, we send it out, like we just engage with our chaplain, we do so much in the community. But I want to shift a little bit of an uncomfortable gear. So then now Bri's like, okay, I may have to move away now. Like, can you speak into that? Maybe not too much detail, but speak into what it's like to change seasons, because 2020 Rockhampton, and all of a sudden now you're changing seasons. How do you prepare yourself for this next change in season, moving to Brisbane? But also, sorry, it's 1,000 questions at one time. How did you prepare your school and your students for you to move away?
Yeah, so it helped a little bit that last year was so topsy-turvy. At the start of the year, I really felt last year that God was pushing me, that it was time for change. And I didn't necessarily know what that meant. Throughout the year, I kind of questioned a few different opportunities and whether that meant leaving chaplaincy or moving towns and things like that. And God was just really pushing at me, like, it's time to make you uncomfortable again. It's time for a new challenge. And so it wasn't until about September that it really came clear that it was moving to Brisbane. And my heart really ignited a bit of passion for the Logan area as well. So in my journey, I was like, I know that it's time to change, and I know that it's time to come down here. So when it came to actually being ready to apply for a new job and move down here, I think I didn't feel so much fear, because I knew that
Wow.
this is solidly where God wanted me to go. So yeah, that, like, it was a huge change, and it was so sad to say goodbye, but in myself, I knew that this was the right way to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was awesome. In regards to telling my school, that was
Yeah.
terrifying. I think I was more scared about that than moving down, really. My staff that I worked with there and the kids that I worked with are amazing, and they are
Right.
so supportive of the kids and things. So I knew that me leaving didn't mean that my kids were going to fall through the gaps and be missed, because I knew that
Okay.
there was an awesome team there to support them. But yeah, it started with a lot of really emotional one-on-one conversations with kids, and explaining why I
Wow.
was leaving and what was going on, and that it didn't mean anything on them. Like, it's not
Yeah.
because of you that I'm leaving, it's because of me, and it's time for a change.
Right.
And at the end of the day, as chaplains, we are there to support kids, but we want to develop them to be independent and confident kids themselves.
Wow.
So by me leaving and by creating change for them, they have the opportunity to grow and learn to live life independently and find new support systems as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I really love what you just said just then, in terms of helping young people transition. Sometimes they're so used to like abrupt changes, like if they're at school, it's like new classroom, or we're not doing this anymore. It's like, oh, okay. But and obviously they're not overly emotionally attached to that. But whereas in your situation as a chaplain, as a person of support, obviously attached to you in terms of you've done this journey with them, it's super important. Like, I'm keen to know your thoughts, like how you've helped them journey independently, because that's so important in that process. And what you did, you sat down, you had a chat one-on-one with them, you actually coached them through that. Like, did someone teach you how to do that, or is it just part of the chaplaincy, code of conduct or whatever chaplaincy manual we get? Like, because sometimes, do you think is in instinctive, or do you think it's, oh, okay, it's just part of my role, that's what I have to do?
I think there's an essence of what is part of our role in, we have an obligation. These kids have formed attachments, and we can't just abruptly leave them.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to, how each chaplain does that change, I suppose it is a little bit of an instinctive thing within each of us, and how we do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. My the kids that I worked with, especially in the high school, we had been through some huge things over the last couple of years, a loss of a staff member and a loss of a
Right.
student and things like that. So the bond was there. And I felt that
Mm.
I owed it to our kids to, not just up and leave, but to to actively help them transition. I felt that it would be more damaging, not just for them, but for chaplaincy as well,
Right.
if they didn't have that support system in place. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think
So
for
cool.
each kid it was different with, you know,
Okay.
how we transitioned based on the relationship that we had and the knowledge. And
Yeah.
that often it involved, you know, finding someone else that they thought as a good support person in the school. So whether that was a staff member, an older kid, or a principal, or another youth worker. The youth
Right.
worker I worked with up north, she was awesome in supporting our kids as well. So she helped a lot with forming new relationships there and helping with that transition as someone
Yeah.
who would be there as a constant. Yeah.
Yeah. So like some seasons come to an end, but then some seasons begin, which is absolutely normal in, I guess, in the circle of life as we call it. In this new season of being at Loganlea, down here in the heart of Logan, as you mentioned earlier, that's where I work as well, in the same area. What has been one of your greatest challenges in starting in this new season of work at a new school?
Yeah, it's definitely a whole lot of new challenges here.
Right.
Having lived in Rockhampton for, you know, quite a few years, I had great knowledge of the community and a really good awareness of what supports were available and who I could call up if I needed things to support kids. Coming down here, it's just starting over again, really. So having to, you know, meet new people all the time and build new relationships and find who are the best organizations to help with each different situation. So that's probably been my biggest challenge, is not just supporting kids, which I know, and I know I can do that confidently, but
Right.
finding that outside sources to help be more than, you know, more than just what I'm doing, but how can we holistically approach community support? Yeah.
Yeah. So does the school know that you can paint murals yet and do YouTube clips? Have they unlocked that box in your talent?
I'm keeping that very quiet.
Maybe not after this interview. They'll be like, "What?
That's
We didn't know
true.
she could paint." um,
Yeah.
being at the school that you are at, for those who won't know, but obviously your school is along the train line. So it's very accessible. It's very transit. Like kids can jump on from anywhere on that train line, as far as the Gold Coast, all the way through Brisbane City. What is the makeup of your school in terms of students? Do you have a lot more kids from that community, or is it sort of, uh, you know, kids from outside of that community?
I suppose we are blessed in a weird way that we are probably one of the smaller high schools in the area. So there's only 800 students here,
Right.
which from someone who doesn't work in a school, that's still a lot of people, but compared to other high schools, which are thousands of students, this is quite a good size here.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot of our students come from the area or a few different suburbs along the train line, but mostly
Okay.
in Logan. But they do offer a few programs that invite students from other areas to come in. And yeah, they come from a few different places, I suppose, just to come and do the sports programs and the hospitality and the arts programs as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so whatever if I can ask, what are some of the needs that I guess you have identified since being in there, and how are you using your skill sets to serve, I guess, the needs of the particular students in your school?
I suppose a huge, huge need is a lot of families that struggle with your basic resources such as food
Right.
and access to, you know, internet and things like that. Um, that has been a huge thing that I've started working in here. I've never had to do so much, but coming down here, it's been amazing. I run a breakfast club. I spend most lunchtimes making toast and sandwiches for kids as well that don't have that. And
Wow.
outside of that, I work with a few different organizations to supply food parcels to families as well. So
Wow.
yeah, and I think it's more than just families needing food, but it's families feeling powerless in the situation to make that change and to provide for their family. And
Yeah.
so more than just working with our kids who are not too ashamed about the fact that they need food. They know that there's supports and they come here,
Right.
but it's working with the families that feel that shame and helping them to realize that no, like we're here to support you. it doesn't matter your situation, it doesn't matter your background. I want to help empower you to make that change and to, you know, provide for your family and to offer you the basic support so then you can go above and beyond that to the next step and heal yourself as well.
That's so cool. Bri, what gives you the most joy about your role? What gives you the most joy about your role?
I suppose at the end of the day, walking away knowing I've made some kind of positive change for a kid or for a family. Today, I've been working with a student for probably the whole time I've been here, working through things, and we're starting to see this positive breakthrough in how they see themselves and their view of their mental health and more of a positive outlook for the future, whereas, you know, even a couple of months ago, that was very bleak. And so today I'm going to go home and know that this kid has got such a positive future and they can see that themselves. And knowing that I played a part in helping them see that and knowing that they're going to walk away and feel more positively about themselves, that's why I do my job. Hey.
Yeah, love it, love it. Have the kids responded, like, just in general, the students, in terms of having a chaplain? Obviously, you and I both know the previous chaplain, but usually chaplains in state schools or public schools, they're you know, more so Christian orientated. Have they responded in that way? They're like, oh, we're not too sure if it's our thing, or have they responded positively and when actually you're pretty all right?
Look, it's been a funny mix. Hey, like a lot of kids know that chaplains are Christians, and there's aspects of that. And my kids will make jokes about faith and things like that, and then they'll pause and they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, we didn't mean that." And like, just being able to laugh with them and make a joke really eases that and settles their mind. My kids have really really come on board wholeheartedly. Like, my office is filled at lunchtime. They come in and hang out, and we have really good laughs and hang out. So I think the faith aspect aside, they know that I'm just here to hang out and be a friend. So they've really responded positively to chaplaincy in general.
That's so cool. Hey, I'm gonna put a challenge out, maybe not only to you, but any other chaplains who work in schools. What is the best toasted sandwich that you make at school? Because I want to know, because there's different versions that I've heard of that people go, I put this on it and this on it, and the kids just eat it. I know kids will eat anything, but what's your secret combo that's not so secret anymore?
Honestly, you can't go past just Nutella on toast. Hey, that
makes... you have Nutella. Oh yeah.
Don't tell anyone.
I'm coming to your school next breakfast club just to eat Nutella on toast.
Legend. My kids that help out at breakfast club, they set new challenges to themselves of the worst toast that you can make. So we have lots of different spreads, and I think the weirdest couple of ones has been like lemon curd with Nutella and Vegemite, and it's disgusting. Yeah. But they'll eat it and they love it. So, you know, just to be creative and be weird.
Right. Great. For some of our viewers who have no idea what we just said, Nutella is like a chocolate spread. Vegemite is, it's an Australian delicacy, and lemon curd is lemon curd. I don't know how else, but you combine those three combinations. I can almost hear and see people squinting and cringing. But I'm sure the next time that we will catch up, I'm sure it'll be shortly at some point, I will definitely come just in time for lunch so we can have that Nutella sandwich together, minus the other two ingredients.
For sure.
Bri, thank you so much for your time, for joining us for this episode. And again, really applaud you for the work that you're doing. I know you're fairly new to the school, but I've heard some good stuff already through people. It's all right. I know people. Logan's a small place. But keep up the great work. And thank you again for serving your students, your community, but also your school as well. Thanks, Bri.
Awesome. Thanks.